Everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing fantastically well. So I've now just got funded with Blue Guardian, and I wanted to go through just some of the highlights of actually going through the funding process. Really, it's not a how-to guide, it's just how I actually went about doing it. I know a lot of people on YouTube go about how I got funded in one day, one trade. That's not about my trading style, and hopefully this will give an insight into how I went about it and how potentially you can change your mindset to actually go about and get funded as well, because the joys of being funded are fantastic, the payouts are great, and it does go to a much better improved quality of life. So I'm going to be delving into the dashboard, having a look at some of the equity curves, some of the actual trades I've placed, and how the momentum built from the first week and carried on from there. So let's take a quick look at the dashboard and how I went about it. Now, the first thing I did with Blue Guardian is set the Guardian Protector to a 3% maximum loss on any particular day. Now, although the maximum loss is 4%, I don't want to get anywhere near that. I want to make sure that if for any reason I got into stupid trades, let's say I hadn't put the stop loss in the correct place or calculated correctly, and for any number of reasons the news came through, price spiked and took me out, I wanted to make sure there was that safety net, and with the Guardian Protector, that actually allows you to do that. So I actually set this first off, going into the dashboard and enabling this at 3% to make sure any trades will be closed out automatically by the back end. Now, I know from reading through the Discord channels, a lot of people fail the challenges purely by hitting the max drawdown on any particular day. This is just a safety net to make sure you don't do it, and I would recommend if anyone's trading with Blue Guardian, go into the dashboard and enable the Guardian Protector. Now, you can see from the equity curve, it's fairly linear. It went up very, very quickly to start with, had some very, very good trades, got on very good momentum, and it flattened off towards the end, and the number of trades went up to get over the line. It's always a case when you actually get closer to the target, things happen, your psychology gets in the way, and it just sort of takes a bit longer than expected. But when we look at some of the daily summary from when I actually started on this one, we go down, we can see that although it's recorded as a loss on this particular day, that was a rolling over trade for the following day, and as you can see, it actually came good, and the closeout of profits of pretty good 2.5% the following day. And at that point, the momentum was building, and just taking small trades where I could. And when the opportunity arose, got into some good trades, again, 1.6% on one particular day. So in the first week, we were up almost 4.5%. And just using that momentum, as we go through each of the following days, we can see, although there was a drawdown and a particularly bad day where I took some losses, recovered the next day with a 2% gain, and finally closed out after. So when we look at the statistics for this, the average winning trade cost is not great, only about 0.3% compared to the actual losing trades. But when the actual percentage of winning trades is over 90%. The particular strategy I was doing was purely get into a trade, manage it, and if it didn't look like it was going to break off and hit my targets of, let's say, 1% of a trade, I would close it out, take a small profit, and look for another trade, and keep repeating that over and over again. So the number of trades wasn't fantastic. It was only just in the low 30s. So for me, this was actually a pretty good way of achieving the 8%. We can also see, looking at the actual trades themselves, are fairly consistent. I wasn't going massive lot sizes. Typically on gold, I was only trading one lot. And if we look all the way down, it's consistent with 1-2 lots, whether it be on Forex or gold, just making sure that the risk wasn't massive. Get into a trade, close it out, take the profits, move on to the next one. And with all things, hitting that 8% target was a great achievement and allowed me to then start onto the phase 2. With Blue Guardian, it's a 4% profit target. And as always, whatever reason, phase 2 always seems a lot harder. I think we have psychological comes in, we feel closer to the gold. It's only 4%. If we look at what managed to do in the first particular week of trading the phase 1, I managed to get 4% in a week. So why couldn't I not do 4% in a week this time round? But in reality it was much harder for me to get through the phase 2. For whatever reason, whether it's being things going on at home or the news coming out and just wasn't having a great effect. What I was also doing was other things on the account, doing some copy trading. And again, that didn't work for me either. So I stopped that towards the end and focused 100% on this particular part of the phase. And we see from the equity curve here, it was very much up and down. Pretty much within the first week was up 2%, brought all the way down, recovered, down, all the way through to getting past at the 4% target. And again, that's also borne out from the statistics. We can see that the number of trades was significantly higher in phase 2 from phase 1. We can see we've got 82 trades to pass this particular phase as opposed to only low 30s in the actual phase 1. The average winning trade was very similar. Average losing trades very similar as well. Win rate wasn't quite as good. I had a slightly more losing trades throughout the actual month. But overall, it still only took me just over 2 weeks to actually pass. So the whole process from end to end was 4 weeks to get funded with Blue Guardian. If we look at some of the trades on this account, They're not great by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not proud of any of these trades. Some of the risk management wasn't as good as they should have been, and to some degree I was quite lucky to get over the line, but having that mental fortitude to know that although we have some drawdown days, we have some negative days, sticking with it, sticking with my plan of getting funded, which was always to take not multiple trades, but looking at the trades that were going to be as high as probability as possible. If they were not going my way in the timeframes I wanted to, close them out. It's not a case of holding these overnight, holding them for days, weeks, months. It was a case of, if I'm planning the trade, I'm expecting it to break or continue with the trend. It doesn't in the first hour, 2 hours of the trade, close it. If it's got a small profit, close it. It's not working. It's not happening for me. It doesn't suit my trade plan. Move on to another one. I think that's really key for anyone doing these challenges, is really have that plan and that strategy. Although we don't want to be trading 80 trades to get through a particular phase, if you do 80 trades, 100 trades, 200 trades, it makes no difference. It's all about having a plan, sticking with it, and having the momentum building into the account. The worst thing we have as traders is actually getting to a drawdown. If on day one we're in negative, it's always playing on our mind, and that's why I always try and get onto a good trade. Where I used to do some of the challenges, I tried to get onto a big swing trade and try and get 1, 2, 3, even 5% on the first trade to take away a lot of that sort of stress. But what I was finding on those ones was that although I was trying to get into that trade, it was never working the way I wanted to. And I was always ending up at -1%, -2%, and sometimes even more of a drawdown to start with. Psychologically, having to break down through those negatives, get through that drawdown and build back to a positive is really tough. And I know traders who can never recover from that. So for me, my strategy is always to get some good percentages to start with, get that momentum going, and once you're into a positive, if you do have a drawdown day, as which we all do, it's never going to wipe the account out. And we can see on the phase 2, I was up 2% and I was down over 1% from that. I was up to 3%, I was then back down to 1%, 2%. It was that roller coaster ride to get where I needed to be, but stick with a plan and you will get funded. So now I've got funded with this one particular account, it proves it can be done and it's a repeatable process. For me now, it's refining the trading strategies to make sure that I'm not getting into any more bad losing trades. I can cut those out a lot quicker and make sure that the trades I get into and able to run and get back to that 1, 2 or even 3% return per trade rather than having closing them out, because it is a lot of effort, it can take a lot of time. But fortunately I had that time, I wasn't too worried about it. I can actually dedicate myself 3, 4, 5 hours a day to trading and get over the line. So I hope you enjoyed today's sort of summary of how I managed to get funded, and it gives you some inspiration to sign up with prop firms and go for it and get those great returns. Thanks for watching. Cheers.